Okay, I think we'll get started. If you're coming from the GNL project, I encourage you to look at the introductory video for this series to see if this is the right series for you. Okay, well, we're going to add a new concept today, this idea of the electric potential. And we're actually going to be able to cover two of the lectures in the syllabus in one video here. That runs counter to the importance of this concept. The concept is critically important. I just don't have a whole lot to say. A lot of this will be really important for you to work the problems and make sure you really understand this concept of the electric potential. Okay, so let's set it up here. We see this word potential, so it maybe is hinting at us potential energy. It's not potential energy. It's a separate thing, but it is definitely closely related. So we've talked a bit about how there's an analogy between being near the surface of the Earth and a constant gravitational field, despite Newton's law of gravity, which says that distance decreases as the distance squared. Well, Coulomb's law follows the same as Newton's law of gravity, and just like with gravity, if we're very close to a charged surface, or if we're in the parallel plate capacitor, which is this great model system, we have a uniform electric field. And so we've talked about that. And we've also talked about the fact that if we place a charge, either a test charge, if we place a test charge in a field, we build up a force field by placing the test charge everywhere. If we place a real charge in a field, like a real charge between a capacitor, then it'll experience a force based on Q times the electric field, the charge times the electric field. Okay, well, let's now ask the question, if we're on Earth and we've got this mass and we lift it from here to here, right, we do a certain amount of work on that system. If we're talking about just this mass and it's a conservative system, then that is a change in the potential energy, no loss to heat out into the environment. And so if we change the height of this mass above Earth, we change its potential energy. And we know that that is mgh, right? mgh. So we would expect, based on the analogies we've been seeing so far, that if we have a positive charge here being attracted to this surface, just like the mass is attracted to Earth, if we were to lift that up, it would require some energy. The energy we're overcoming is the potential energy, the energy due to position. So if we have the particle here, move it to here, then we have a difference in potential energy. Well, the relationship between electric potential and potential energy, so we hear this word, it's important to remember that this is not potential energy, but it's very closely related. So if we were to take that test charge and multiply it by the electric potential, then we get a potential energy. And then the same would be true if we have a real charge at this position versus this position. If we multiply that charge by the field at each of those positions, then we have a difference in potential energy. Now, the electric potential is also sometimes called the electrostatic potential, also sometimes called the voltage. We're going to use this a lot. Well, we're going to use all these names, I guess, but we use this a lot. And then later, when we get to electric circuits, it's very often called electromotive force. And we can see the word force. Notice how potential is here, force is here. This, like, it's hinting at these relations, but they're not exactly potential energies or forces. So we think of the force as arising from putting the charge times the field, right? So that's where this is coming. This is sort of coming from. The force is what causes this mass to move. If we were to drop it, the force is what's going to cause this charge to move if we were to drop it. So it'd be electromotive force there. We won't, like I say, we won't hear this term much right away, but then as soon as we get to circuits, we'll hear this term. The units, the SI unit, is something called the volt, and this is an awkward situation where we have the voltage unit having the same letter representation as the physical unit. So V is representing the electric potential, and V is also representing the SI unit, the volt. Okay, Now, we have this connection to potential energy, and if you recall from last semester, we were pretty careful to say that energy is on a relative scale. So what matters is where we are here and where we are here, and the difference is what matters. We don't have an absolute value of energy. There's no absolute zero of energy like there is with, say, temperature. So energy is always on a relative scale, and so we're comparing differences. Well, if the only difference between these is that we're multiplying by charge, then that means voltage is also on, or voltage or electric potential is also on a relative scale as well. And so how does that go? If we have, imagine this parallel plate here, uniform electric field, we have a positive charge here that's going to want to go this way. It's going to reduce its potential energy as it goes this way. So that means it's going to reduce its voltage as it goes this way. So V1 has a greater electric potential than V2, that position there. Okay, now the relativeness is, let's compare the difference all the way at one plate to another. Let's say that that's charged up to a 10 volt difference, so that the voltage drop, the electric potential drop, if we had a charge right there at the surface and we move it to right at the surface here, what is the voltage difference there? Let's say it's 10 volts. Well, since this is on an absolute scale, we could define this to be 0 volts and then this to be a positive 10 volts. Or we could split the difference, define this to be minus 5 volts, then this would be a 5 volts. And we could go even further, and we could say that the top is defined as 0, then the bottom would be minus 10 volts. So we're always defining relative to the relative voltages. So we can put this on any scale we like, but the physically important thing is the difference there. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Okay, let's look at conservative systems still. Here, we're not going to worry about dissipation. So we're going to look at energy and charge and the connection to charge. So for a conservative system, we have conservation of energy. Just a critically important concept in physics, and we talked about it last semester. So that means the initial kinetic plus potential energy is equal to the final kinetic plus potential energy. But we know we can interconvert between these two, and we got good last semester at using this concept to calculate, say, kinetic energy if we know a change in potential energy and so on. So we'll do the same thing here, but under the conditions now of just an electric charge. And so we know now that the relationship between the potential energy and the electrostatic potential is just multiplying by this charge. And so if we were to rearrange this and make a final minus initial here, or a delta K, delta kinetic energy, we're going to end up with minus Q times delta V. And so let's take an example here. Let's imagine we have a 200 volt parallel plate capacitor. We're going to put a 1 times 10 to the minus 8 Coulomb charge right at the surface there, and it has a mass of 1 times 10 to the minus 7 kilograms. So what do we know is going to happen? This is going to shoot across here, right? And what we want to know is, what is the kinetic energy right when that's going to hit that surface on the other side? So we look at the voltage difference here is minus 200 volts. So we were at 200, we're now at 0, so we're minus 200 volts. We've dropped 200 volts. The charge is this, so the minus and the minus gives us a total energy change, potential energy change of 2 times 10 to the minus 6, but by conservation of energy, this is the change in the kinetic energy here. Well, we started from rest, and then we go to some different, some velocity here. So we're going to have final minus initial, but the initial is 0 because we're at rest. And so our final kinetic energy is this. So we've lost that much potential energy, gained that much kinetic energy. So we have 1/2 mv squared as our formula for kinetic energy. We could solve for V, and we end up getting 6.32 times, 6.32 meters per second here as the voltage, at the velocity by dropping this much voltage. Okay, now to do this, to get all of the relationships, we do need some calculus. So we're just going to take and give two important geometries and just give the formula. So for a point charge, the potential is, this is different K here now, a lot of K's running around. This is Coulomb's constant times charge over the distance. So it's a 1 over r potential drop off. Coulomb's law is a 1 over r squared. The potential energy is a 1 over r. Now moving to, what I should say too, point charge is a basic unit. So we can, by superposition, have a whole bunch of point charge, multiple point charges, and the voltage at any given position is just the sum of the voltages due to all the point charges. So that's how the formulas for the parallel plate are developed. And now for the sphere is you think about a collection of charges and you work out carefully what you should get. So the principle of superposition arises here with voltage as well. Okay, let's look at a sphere of radius r, capital R, and total charge q. So if we're inside, a conducting sphere. So if we're inside the sphere, we know the field is 0, so the voltage is 0 across the whole interior. So if we're less than the radius, we have 0 inside that conductor, because if it were if there was a voltage different, then charges would move, and we would know the charges are free to move, so they would have already done so. So we know that inside the voltage is 0. Now, if we have right on the surface of that, it follows exactly by the symmetry of the sphere, it neatly follows the point charge. So it's not a point charge, but it has the same formula. So we have Q, that's the total charge, over the radius, big R here. And then for R greater than this, we keep KQ and we just drop off as R from the distance R from the center. This is from the center of the sphere. Okay. Well, the last important one, of course, is the parallel plates. Here we can work with this. We don't need any calculus because the electric field is constant. So if we remember that force is derived from just multiplying the field times the charge. So in the parallel plate capacity, we have a constant field, so our force is constant. So then we can calculate the work done as we lift this charge. So that goes back to what we were talking about here, where as we move this charge from one side to another. So if we have a plate of separation D, if we look at the voltage across that distance, it's going to be a straight line with a slope equal to the electric field. So so this is our work done. For a conservative system, then that is all going into just, that work is done to overcome the change in potential energy. There's no loss or dissipation due to heat. And so potential energy also equals charge times voltage times distance. We can also relate potential energy, coming back to this formula here, as delta U is Q delta V. So we have delta U is Q delta V, Q ED, so we can cancel the Q's and we get a change in voltage across that capacitor. So when we talked about this example over here, we could derive this from the field, or we could, given this, we could derive the field due to this linear relationship there. Furthermore, since this is a straight line, right, we would like to be able to get the voltage at any position x here. And again, since it's a straight line, our voltage as a function of x is just going to be x divided by d times E. So if we're somewhere in the middle, then we'll have a voltage that's in between those two extremes. Okay, and just to wrap up, let's keep our mind on the parallel plate. It's such an important model. It's the one that has the constant electric field. And this can give us a big picture view of things. And even though this is for the parallel plate, it also essentially holds true just in general. And that is, we have a relationship between force and field by the charge. So if we put a little test charge in electric field, we are able to get the force due to that field. So there's this relationship here, F equals QE. That follows through for potential energy and voltage. So the field is sort of playing the role as the force here, and the voltage is playing the role of potential energy if we multiply by Q. So just this relationship with Q. And bringing us back to here, notice, makes it even more confusing to call this a force because the analogy with the force here is more with the field than with the voltage. Now, we also know, at least in these conservative systems, that we can get the potential energy from the force by looking at the work that we do. And in general, we can just through calculus-based methods. And we see that the change in the potential energy is just the force times the change in the distance here. Now, that's true for a constant force like the parallel plates, but there's a truth to this enough, at least, to help you get the big picture of how these four things are related, that these are related through the distance or a displacement. Likewise, voltage is related to field through a displacement. So I think this graph is really helpful in not so much the calculations, but just kind of keeping track of all these different concepts that are coming at us now with electrostatics. All right, so this was lectures 1 and 2 together. So if you're at Concordia, we're going to be working some problems in class. If you're in the GNL project, then really take this time, take an extra day or two here in your studies to really work through the problems in the book, get a good sense of how to do calculations with the voltages.